Where's Brandon? Okay, so I have Yennefer.
What is that?
It's Yennefer from Witcher.
Oh, from Witcher. Okay, I have nothing about Witcher. I just randomly saw that in one of the games you have to throw a baby in an oven.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I know. That was my reaction too. It was very. I'll send you the clip. That was a very funny, like somebody playing through that, reacting to that quest. For the first, I'll send it to you. It's very funny.
Okay. I've never played the games. I have the books on my shelves, never read them. They are on my to be read. I've only watched the show, and
I don't know that I'm ever going to get into it. There's enough for A Song of Ice and Fire, and I have one whole other series that I'm trying to get into before I get into anything else.
All right, I'm going to put them all over here so they're out of my way. But yes, Brandon, if you're back in here, there's all my Witcher fungos.
Hello, everybody. Do we know where Ashley is? We know where Chelsea is.
No.
Because I don't think she said anything, right?
She hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah.
This one's a pretty cool scene. I like it whenever, so if Brandon's in here, I don't know how I feel about Liam Hemsworth being the new Geralt. I am a big Henry Cavill fan. I've always been a big fan of his. I am one of those girlies that would cast Aegon the Conqueror to be Henry Cavill, because I love the man so much. He's also very meaty. He's like the only meaty person that I would go for. But
He's the only what? Excuse me?
Meaty, like the meatheads, you know?
That's not true.
Who else?
You have a picture of them, a framed, signed portrait by your bed. Excuse me.
Sorry, Jason Momoa. He's an automatic.
How dare you forget about Duncan, Idaho like that?
You called me out for it being by my bed.
Well, it is by your bed, isn't it? Right. Also, the Amelia Clark one.
Yeah, both of them are right there, right next to my headboard.
Neftali. Chelsea is. She might be joining us later, but she's just not available at this time today, unfortunately.
Yeah, Ashley's coming in. What should I play in the background?
Well, is that really our decision?
Yeah, because there's no one here.
Okay, that's right. That's true. School started. That's right.
Yeah, no one's here.
I see Sumali's here. Hi, Sumali. We're still just getting started. Because we're waiting on Ashley. Because to be honest, we didn't talk about what we were talking about today. It's just kind of freewheeling it.
Yeah, I said don't rely on me because I am.
Well, because I was trying to think of news, and there's not really a whole lot. People are still just in their like hate eras of deconstructing why the show was bad, and I like. Hello, good afternoon. Yes, we're having a good Monday. I hope you're having a good Monday as well. But the what to put on? What to put on? Put on just the finale.
Okay, I got it right here.
I've been put on House of the Dragon, or like the House the Dragons built. So warm up. I finished Game of Thrones season 8 with my dad last night. Sumali, yeah, how is that going on? How is that going with your with doing this rewatch? I've been following that on your Instagram. Am I a mod on your? I think I am.
Yeah.
Hi, Farah.
Hi, Farah. Are we needing a mod?
No, well, I was just wondering if I was, just because this is, a new. No, I'm on here. Okay, I'm on here.
The only thing that pisses me off is that HBO doesn't have a start over button.
They don't. It's like very strategically only used at certain places.
I'm gonna turn my light off so you can see it.
Obviously not a book reader, and I would say closer to the Hell Yeah Action audience avatar. Yeah, that's. I'm always curious to see what non-book readers think of the show because they can truly focus on what the show itself is giving them. And I love. I watch YouTube reactors, and a lot of them don't watch. A lot of them haven't read the book, so it's interesting to get their. Because they don't have the lore, but also at the same time they're only reacting to what's on screen, which I feel like House of the Dragon, you have like different. That's definitely a problem with House of the Dragon because I feel like a lot of the hate is coming from looking at it as an adaptation, not as a show itself. I'm not saying the show is perfect, but I do think that the show itself is much better as a show than I think book fans want to give it credit. See through eyes with a certain purity to it. Yeah, like it's people who don't read the books. I've noticed they have a. What am I trying to say? They don't quite get why the show is bad. They can definitely feel it though. It's interesting.
Are we talking about House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones, back to season 8.
So I'm married to a show watcher. Will not read. He's read the prologue of AGOT. That's as far as he's gone because he doesn't read fantasy. But he is a fan of Game of Thrones and thought that the whole ending, the whole last season was great. He thought the entire show was great. He doesn't understand the scrutiny without taking my input in it. He doesn't understand the scrutiny from the world on how it was so bad. And then you have us book people who are just like literally having an aneurysm in our head when we watch it. So he loves it. He at this point in time loves the entire show in its entirety, like the entire thing, just start to end, loves it. Will not watch season 1 through like 4 because he feels like it's too slow. But we'll watch the rest of it if it's on, you know?
We got guests in the.
Oh yeah, sorry, I got the pop up. Sorry.
Let's get some invites.
Oh, she popped out. Okay, here we go.
Oh my God. We're all here now.
Hi.
Everybody's here.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster of a morning. I got a message on Teams that was like, we're going to have a meeting. And then like 2 minutes later, someone was like, I can't. And so I was like, okay, me either. Yeah, I have a thing that you do.
Perfect.
So here's the thing.
There are people who think Game of Thrones is great from start to finish. Some who think 7 and 8 are bad. Yeah, it's interesting.
I wanted to say, because my mom is who I watch it with and have watched it with since the beginning, honestly. Like, she and I have always watched it, and she's only seen, obviously hasn't read the books. She knows a lot of shit because of me, but she hated the ending, like, independently of me. She thought it was trash. Like, and it's so funny because when we were watching House of the Dragon and Daemon, like, bent the knee to Rhaenyra and was like, yeah, I did it all for you. She was like, that's what Jon should have done.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I know. It is what he should have done. He killed her with a kiss instead. Like, I'm sorry, I don't understand how as a woman you can't be insulted by that. Like, how are you not insulted by that?
And see, Jeremy is the same, my husband. He is a Jon Snow guy.
Of course he is. Of course he fucking is.
He loves Jon Snow. So he liked the ending. And I'm over here like, this is fucking stupid, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I liked it. Well, of course you fucking like it, you fucking snow boy. Love you. Love you if you're looking. I love you.
But you're wrong. You're wrong.
You're wrong. This is a house divided here. There is a Targaryen and a Stark banner flying in my living room. It's a house divided. Yeah.
That's funny. No, my mom is very much on the same page as me.
So my experience with watching the show was like, I was not a book reader, and I was definitely like, because I went to film school, so like I was like, that was what me and my friends were watching, the golden age of television at the time, which if you remember, Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, and then like Game of Thrones, throwing that on top of everything. Sundays were like the best because it was like Game of Thrones, then Silicon Valley, and then Last Week Tonight. And it was just like, how drunk or high do you want to get through all of that? It was like the best summer ever. But when we watched it, we were simps, I guess, for the show because we were with it all the way until the penultimate episode of season 7.
I mean, same. So was I.
When it was Run Gendry Run, that was when we were like, okay, the show is done. It's done.
It's so true.
Because we were all kind of like thinking about season 7 as well as like season 6 being like, well, maybe we'll look back at this as like kind of being the cruddy part and then it'll be better. And it just didn't get better. It still got worse. Like, Sumali, you brought up earlier about how your father is saying like, wait a minute, this all wraps up after 3 episodes into season 8. You're like, wait, it all wraps up in 3 episodes. How is that possible? And it's insane because they wasted so much time despite the story being rushed.
Yeah, Tyrion walking around for however many minutes. That was
or that second episode where all they do is talk and like Podrick sings and Brienne gets knighted. Like it was all like to me meant nothing because it wasn't built up to that. So it was like it is the same as like gratuitous sex and violence. It's just like gratuitous drama.
Fine.
Well,
That's how I feel about it.
I felt like I wasn't really attached to the dragons in Game of Thrones when they died. I didn't really care like I thought I would.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think for me it's a little bit different because a lot of people like watched a lot of the show and then read the books. I watched season 1 of the show and then decided, okay, I need to read the books so that I can get a better perspective because the books are always better. So I read the books, and then after that, it just didn't seem like the show was good, but it wasn't amazing. I would say that season 1 was the one that really was amazing to me, and then after that, it just so slowly like kept doing this. And there was just parts of it that I didn't understand, like the whole thing with Rob's storyline. So much was cut out of it, so much was added in that didn't need to be there, and I was like, none of this really, but it's not like the book was so much better and so much of this was so unnecessary.
I meant stuff that was necessary or felt necessary got cut.
Yeah, like I do. I'm sorry. I feel I'm going to agree with George on this one. Lady Stoneheart was necessary.
She was.
And yet she was completely cut out.
Lady Stoneheart was necessary.
Even the feel of the show changed. I say by season 6, it just had a completely different feel. It didn't feel like I thought the show was ever like a wholesome, like feel good medieval show. It was like you had the characters' journeys. You had that, Brienne and Pod like walking through Westeros. You had Arya and the Hound. You just had these little dynamics, and just like by season 6, you just like it just feels like then. The tides change. It's got a different like aura to it. It's just like
they didn't know what to do with some of that stuff because like those dynamics, the interesting dynamics you're talking about, like Jamie Brienne, Podrick Brienne, Arya the Hound, like all that stuff is George. Like he put those characters together, and then like at the end of the show, it's very clear that they were like. They did not know what to do with some of these characters. Like, no, Davos isn't gonna bring up the fact that Tyrion is responsible for killing his children.
Right? Not even
like that's just never gonna come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and it seemed like I mean, it's like we have all said. They cared about the red wedding. That's why they wanted to do the show. And after that was over, they were pretty much done with it. But they had to finish it because they had to do something. They started it. They had to do something. So called it a day.
Yeah, Davos and Tyrion. I'm trying to think about it. Like we had fucking snowstorm happen, and it still wasn't that much.
How do you
I don't
fumble?
know. I don't remember a whole lot of Danny John stuff.
Because how do
Even
you
though I
fumble
know
that?
it was there.
How do you fumble that?
It was forced.
It's written in the stars. How do you fumble that? It's because the show is John Eris, right? But the books is Snowstorm. There's a difference. There's a distinct difference.
And I always tell people, like, I am a huge Jon Snow fan, but Jon Snow in the show was an absolute joke. Jon Snow in the books is amazing. Like, he's a very interesting, complicated character. Has so many horrible things happen to him, and all of his choices are constantly taken from him. He is defined by being a bastard, even though he's so much more than that. That's all people really see when they look at him at the end of the day. And it's just, it's a complicated story. And he tries to do the right thing. Like, I can relate to that so much. Constantly trying to do the right thing, and then realizing that no matter what you do, your choices are taken away from you. And you lose, like, your goals, and your, like, what the outcome you want of these things doesn't come to fruition. And it ends up backfiring on you. Like, his whole baby swap thing. Is it awful that he did that? Yes. Did he have good intentions in doing it?
Yeah.
Also, yes. And
That's the tragedy. That's the fucking tragedy. It's like people pretend like they want tragedy, but then when they get actual tragedy, they're like, no, not that way. Not with John, not with my favorite character. Well, that's not how fucking tragedy works, bitch.
That is the point. He was trying to do something that would save this child while also not harming this other child. And in doing so, he has messed up completely because he never accounted for the possibility that he would die before he got a chance to tell Melisandre the truth. So, and despite what anyone says, despite what Val says in the books, I don't think Melisandre knows that that's not Mance's child. I don't think she knows.
Okay, so in our I haven't gotten there yet in our reread, and I'm really fuzzy on the conversation in which that is revealed, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to looking at that again closely, because I also I'm of the mind that it doesn't matter if Melisandre knows, because she's going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't fucking matter, because then it could be that she's pissed off that she thought that they could get one over on her. Like, have I not shown you my magic? Have I not proven myself a prophet? And yet you still go against me. Fine, I'm burning this baby. Like, that is well within Melisandre's character. Be so serious.
Slizzard, they did the TV show thing where they need that guy who does no wrong and solves all the problems. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
They were afraid of having Jon and Tyrion be villains. And
They were afraid of having them do bad things, because despite them acting like this is a series, like people acting like they want great characters, that's not fucking true at all. They like need to be spoon-fed. This character is bad and does really atrocious things. This character is good and does good things. Like, I can't. Ugh.
That's one thing that I love that House of the Dragon is changing, is that Daemon is a very complicated character. Like, you love him, you hate him. You have like moments where he's just absolutely horrible, and then moments where he's actually making good choices. But it's not like he's coming to those decisions on his own. He needed help along the way. And there's so much complexities to Daemon's character, and that is a true morally gray character. And I hate it when I hear people say, oh, Daemon was like, they're vilifying him in the show. Actually, they're really not. As someone who hated Daemon Targaryen in Fire and Blood, and I love him in the show is giving him so much grace. They're doing so much better by his character. Fire and Blood makes Daemon look like a giant piece of shit.
Like
I
a big old
agree
pervert.
with Jack from Lost. Yes, I agree with that too, because I am a Lost girly. So
still ain't seen it.
I've never seen it.
y'all, it's a
I've never seen
shot.
Lost.
It's great. I love it, and a lot of people say it's like the ending has the same feeling as like Game of Thrones. But you can ask Kayla, and I agree with her. If you dislike the ending of the show, do you really even know what the show is about? Is all we have to say. Like, it's a lot of people were upset with it, and it makes sense for people who got the cusp of of the meaning. So
I'm sorry, Air Fox. A lot of the Greens are like that too. You love them, then you hate them, and then you love them, and so on. I would say that Aemond, there's never a moment in which Aemond is ever made to look good. But I do think that you have to have some of the darkest of dark characters. I mean, that's why Ramsay Bolton exists in the books. I mean, there's no good side of Ramsay whatsoever. Like, you can't see any of it. And I like how Aemond's descent has gone from accidentally kinslaying to just straight up, oh, I'm kinslaying on purpose now. Like, with full conviction, I'm just doing it out here. I don't care if I'm killing dragons, my relatives, like, I do not care. But what I will say with Aegon, there have been a few moments in which I found him to not be completely horrible. They've been small moments, but I see the damage that's been done there by how he was the lack of raising him, and also the way he was raised. Like, it was a complicated situation in which he does not know how to be king. He does not know how to properly function in society or as a human being. And I mean, he does grieve his son, even though a part of it is yet very superficial. Oh, my son is my legacy. You also see him at the end of that episode crying and actually being legitimately sad about the death of his son, and Alicent just walking away from him and being so dismissive. And you're like, okay, well, that's why you see so much dysfunction coming from Aegon, because like no one has ever shown him that they really care at all. So yeah, I do have a little bit of sympathy for his character at times.
I have lost all sympathy for Aemond, but it is mostly because, like, in the book, he's like, everybody is one note in the book. So it's like everybody is like the last part of their character. With Aegon, he is a bad guy, but he is only king because other people wanted him there. So it's just one of those, like, he should not have been there. And it's like, he is not, ultimately, even though he's the one doing everything, he is not the worst part in that scenario, because these people know who he is too. Alicent and Otto know who Aegon is. But Aemond is just very much like, even in the book, he's very much like a alpha male, like, type, Andrew Tate type guy.
For real.
From all the, even to his shitty dialogue.
Like, for real.
Wait, what did you say?
He's a very, like, one-dimensional character in the book. I mean, and even, like, in the show, it's more of a descent, which I kind of like. But, I mean, in the book, it's just pretty straightforward. He's just a shithead.
Yeah, and the actors are all, like, that's part of the reason why I think we can even have this, like, discussion about their characters. Like, the writing is definitely there, but the actors are the ones bringing all this out. Because it's not in the book. Like, the book, the characters are very one note. They're mostly who they are at the end of the story.
And I love what's happening with Rhaenyra in the show, because at the beginning of season 2, you're completely on her side. And as you get further into it, you're like, oh, wow, she is really making some horrible decisions and doing some things that you don't really like. And I mean, so many people are completely on her side. And while, yes, I do agree she's the rightful heir, at what cost is she trying to achieve that? It's a very complicated situation. Like, when I look at it, I don't see her as this perfectly good character. She's making some serious mistakes.
And I'm going to tie this back to something else that has been ping-ponging around the fandom about whether or not A Song of Ice and Fire itself is anti-monarchy, because it's like the reason that all this stuff is like morally questionable on Rhaenyra's part is because of the monarchy. Like, she's having to make these decisions because of that. And it's like, all of that is tied together, and I just don't, I kind of get annoyed at people who say it's like, the dance isn't about that. It's about this one specific thing, and it can't be about more than one thing.
It's about all of them.
Yeah, because they all lean into each other. Like the dance, like we've said this before several times about how this leads into the main series narratively, plot wise, and thematically. So it's like all throughout the main series is all this stuff about how like men preparing for war means all men want war, and how that kind of gets essentialized into the gender roles. Whereas men have to be protectors, women have to be protected. Like this, I was going through Brienne 1 in A Feast for Crows, and that's what's going on, I think, with her and those two guys that she meets in the beginning. Because it's like, she doesn't need protection from them, but they still look down on her as if she needs protection. Because if they don't, what purpose do they serve as like hedge knights?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they dropped that entire fucking narrative with Brienne, and instead made her say stupid shit like weeping women or whatever it is that she says in the show.
Yeah.
I can't stand the wailing of women. What?
Yeah.
Brienne is like heartbroken at the wailing of women. So I don't know what you're on about, because that's the beauty of Brienne, is that she's soft and she's strong. That's the point. She has softness and empathy, and Jamie is coming to see that, and that's why he's fucking falling in love with her. Like,
I don't think that people really take into account like those little things. Like I hear people say that, oh, Brienne's storyline was great in the show. No, it wasn't, because they made her look like a jackass.
Yeah.
Like she was, again, a very one-dimensional character. And I see her so different in the books, because she is with Kat because she respects Kat and sees her as someone to look up to. And when she sees what has become of her, like the whole Lady Stoneheart thing, that's heartbreaking.
Well, the cat thing is like, I don't think the showrunners understood like kind of the like gender stuff that was going on there, because it's all about like, that scene is about Brienne understanding what women's courage is, which I think has to do with like being nurturing and protective, because that's what she did, right? She sprung in and was like defending Brienne, even though she didn't need to do that. Like that's what Brienne specifically says why she wants to follow Catelyn, and she specifically says because you have like like a woman's courage. It's like I don't think the showrunners understood that, because because it's about her like understanding like how oaths need to be like different and how you need to like have free will. But okay, hold on. Sorry, Neftali, we're not. The reread isn't like scheduled right now, right? We're just we're in the last book right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Quick question. I just saw the part. Where is it where it's whispered traitor? Like you hear a whisper of traitor? Is that just the part that just passed and Simon oversaw what's his face?
yes.
The Damon?
Right.
Right there?
Yes, it's when they go out to the weirwood.
Oh, Sam, because Sam loves Brienne and understands Brienne.
Exactly. Like I was just about to say that at Chelsea. Like Sam gets it.
He said Brienne found a mother to protect her and Kat after having lost her own, and like you don't get any sense of that part of Brienne's character in the show. Like you don't know anything about the loss of her mom and stuff like that.
They got rid of the whole Gallatin of Morn thing, which has everything to do with like, because Brienne's brother, her dead brother, is named Gallatin. So her looking up to like Sir Gallatin of Morn is like a whole thing about her looking up to her brother, and the fact that her father doesn't have a male heir. It's all tied together, and there was just nothing of that show. They got rid of it all.
I also hate how we get, they literally get rid of her whole story, right? Because you don't get the biter, you don't get any of that. You don't get the time she spends with what's-his-fuck, the guy that was in on the joke on her, the hedge knight, what's his name? And she
Kyle.
Yeah, she's with him for a while, right? And the difference, because what I feel like it's doing is it's highlighting the difference between like Jamie and that guy for Brienne. Because it's like after she's spent some time with Jamie, now she's spending this time with this guy, and like seeing that like affirming what she already knows, which is that Jamie doesn't really adhere to these ideals of like knighthood and honor and whatever, that like he exists outside of that spectrum,
Yeah. Jamie. Well, Jamie is like Jamie is basically a beautiful lady at that point. Like they even say that directly in Storm. It's very funny. You know, they make because it's like Brienne doesn't have the strength of a woman, which is being pretty, but she has the strength of a man's role, which is being, you know, a fighter. And then Jamie, after losing his hand, is a beautiful man, which is not useful to him because he can't fight anymore.
Which, like, yeah, well,
So, like, it's very-
now you know Cersei's, like, it's kind of like he's getting a taste of what Cersei's had to deal with her whole life, like, being helpless in that way, that she's only perceived as, like, this beautiful woman, and that's where her power lies, is in being a beautiful woman, and that's where her, not only her power, but, like, her value lies, is in being a woman, like, you know, sexually,
Yeah.
whatever not.
And just to say, this is kind of the level of like gender studies that George is working with. So.
Yeah, but then people will tell me with my full chest that I'm talking about feminist propaganda and shit. And I'm like, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. It is feminist propaganda. I'm not putting a spin on it. It just is feminist propaganda.
No, it is. It's pretty like on par with kind of what George has written in the past, but also like.
That's why I think it's so funny that people like really don't believe that the big twist is that the hero is a girl. That's what the whole fucking story is about. That's what the whole fucking story is about. It's about gender. It's about women. I had this guy basically tell me I was being a gender essentialist, and I was like, bro, this is like a medieval fucking fantasy world. Shut up. It's literally like dictated by gender essentialism. That's what he's making commentary on, you dickwad. I literally sometimes cannot with this fandom. Sorry.
I mean, that was a funny exchange you had.
To go back to the first book that George really wrote in the A Song of Ice and Fire kind of universe, the Ice Dragon, Adara is a girl and the hero of that story. Like, she and the Ice Dragon together saved the day. So it's not like this is the first time that George has written a heroine of the story. I mean, that's not the first time that has happened.
And people completely lose sight of the fact that this was written in the fucking 90s. If this had been released in the rapid succession that it should have been, it would have been subversive because people, and I've been on this tangent lately, is people act like A Song of Ice and Fire is a deconstruction of the Chosen One trope. And it's not, it's a subversion. Dune is a deconstruction. This is a subversion by making the Chosen One a girl, because at that point, we had not seen that yet. And so when people say things to me like, isn't it just too on the nose, like she's too Jesus-like? That's the point. The point is, what happens when Jesus is a girl? What happens then?
The freaking Wookiee Furby just woke up.
Sorry. I think Florence is wrong in this aspect.
Which one?
Whatever that song, I forget what the song is.
I hate to interrupt
like,
you.
what if Jesus came back, but in a beautiful dress?
Yes, but in a beautiful dress, and all the evangelicals were like, hell yes, but we know that wouldn't be the case because
Yeah,
they'd be
I'm like, that's not
what the
gonna
fuck, why
happen.
is Jesus in a dress?
The
Burn
Wookiee-
him.
The
Her.
Wookiee Furby just woke up by itself.
Because it agrees with me.
The Tams Girly Pop, speaking of the Danny stands, yeah, we're all apparently Danny haters in this
Oh my
live
gosh,
here.
people are talking about me on, where was it, Eric? Twitter?
Yes, it
X?
was on Twitter.
Like, I don't even exist there, and people still talk about me there. Like, thank you for making me famous, bitches.
They're
But,
obsessed.
like, seriously, you're obsessed. Like, and it's so funny because some of the worst, like, vitriol that I get is from, quote, Danny stans. Like, I am your queen. What are you talking about?
In Daenerys having children and living happily ever after, because that's just repeating history. Because
That's not the fucking story that's being written. That's not the fucking story that's being written.
With her heir or her heir's heir or like whatever descendant down the line, there's always going to be some type of Maegor or Aegon the Second. There's always going to be a Aegon the Unworthy in there.
I don't understand what's so fucking hard to grasp, that the legacy of the Mother of Dragons would be a fucking dragon, not a baby. Like, what? This
Maybe
is not
that's
complicated.
Isn't it too on the nose?
We're never going to get a situation in the monarchy where somewhere down the line you are not going to have a piece of garbage. I always say that House Blackfire began with Damon the First, who was an absolute legend and did the right thing. Like, that was one of the main criticisms that he got was, why on earth are you going down to save your enemy? Like, he defeated him. Why not just trample over him? But he didn't do that. He got off his horse and tried to help Gwen Corbray to safety. And everyone criticizes him for it. But that was the right thing to do. There's a difference between honorable and right, and he wanted to do the right thing. So it starts with Damon, but it ends with Meleys the Monstrous, who is a horrible, evil, kinslaying psychopath. So that just goes to show you there's always going to be something awful down the line. The monarchy does not work.
And then what's his face? What's the guy's name that came right before they came to the Great Council? Who was that Blackfire?
Oh gosh, who Bloodraven lied to him and misled. Hold on.
Anyways, I was just gonna say that Blackfire, whatever he did, he did something wrong.
I just can't believe that I have haters who are fucking Dany fans. It fucking baffles me. And it's like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about, we were talking about Jon and how people want this like straight-laced, like very clear, he's right and he does everything correctly. And I'm like, that's because people act like they want tragedy, but then when they get tragedy, they're like, oh God, it's tragic. Like, I want tragedy. I am committed to tragedy. Okay? Yeah. And that's what makes sense. Bittersweet, bitch. Tragic. Like, but beautiful. Tragic, but beautiful. Okay? Like, it's not going to be Dany is the new, goddess on earth and humanity flourishes and blah, blah, blah. That's not, like... she's the new Pearl Emperor or whatever. Yeah, or whatever. Like, I just can't get on board with that. It's just not, it doesn't make sense.
It's a happy ending, and it's not a resolve to the problem. Like, the problem is the monarchy. If you continue the monarchy, there will always be a problem later on. Daenerys could have a golden age of ruling. She can rule as long as Jaehaerys rules. And then there's...
Oh my God. Wait, are you reading these comments?
Who's a piece of crap?
Are you reading these comments? Because they were completely hating, saying we were all Dany and Taze and our favorite are the Starks. Like, shut up. The Starks are at the bottom of my list.
Because Dany's going to die, so therefore everybody else, Jon, Sansa, Arya, they're all... gonna have a happily ever after. No, and that's what y'all want, because y'all
I didn't say that.
No,
I didn't fucking say that. Jon's dying with Dany. I don't know how many times I got to tell you that.
I see Jon dying too, so I mean, and I see Young Griff dying. I see everybody dying.
I am a little like, I don't think Jon's gonna die.
Oh, he is.
One of those things is like him and Bran, I think, are gonna be like trapped wherever they are.
I don't know about that. I think Bran, yes, but I don't think Jon.
Jon is going to be able to live without Daenerys, and I think that like when I say that he is human, he's the personification of an ice dragon. I think he's going to go down like an ice dragon. He's just going to become
gonna melt into the pool.
He's gonna become a puddle.
Yeah, I love that. But you guys know that I think, like, okay, you
will be a puddle of snowboy tears.
Yes. And I'll take a bath in it. A nice cold bath. It'll be good for my skin. Throw some blood in there. Do some sea star shit.
I don't think he's going to be able to live without Daenerys. He's not going to want to.
So for me, yes, I agree. I think that they are going to have that kind of love, like that deep, deep love that is like doomed and star-crossed and all that kind of stuff. I'm fully on board for that. And it's going to end very tragically for both of them. But that's because it ends in like a willing self-sacrifice, because Jon's entire arc, his whole arc, is about lack of agency. And his one true decision that will be his true act of agency is some big fucking sacrifice that he makes with his life, with his love, with her dragon, with Lightbringer. Like, come on, it's all there. It's all there, guys. Anyway, that's how it should end, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's
survive.
Nobody's going to be happy, and this is ultimately another one of those moments where just people are really trying to be bad.
We have a question if Ghost is going to survive.
No, I don't think so. I mean, yes and no. Like, physically, no. Mentally, like, as like his spirit, yes, because him and Jon are going to be one. And then they're both going to live in Jon's body.
I'm imagining Jon playing fetch with himself now.
Yes, exactly. Chasing his tail.
John's going to be resurrected, and he's going to become Darth John, aka Night King 2.0.
Yeah, Far. That's
AKA
kind of where I'm at. Is like he's going to be part of like what undoes the Night King thing, which is the
Yes.
the human sacrifice to the
Yes.
others.
It's
So,
Eric.
I don't know.
You
I
blew
feel
my
like
fucking
maybe
mind.
he gets frozen into the wall, but either way, yeah, he's gone. He's
Well,
not.
that's kind of cool because there are those theories. Like he always is talking about a dragon being trapped in the wall.
Yeah.
That's cool. Walking through the mouth of the dragon. It's like a foreshadowing. He's going to be locked in there. I like that. I like that.
With us, we will blow your minds.
Okay, no, but actually going back to that, Eric blew my mind because I've always like, you guys know how I feel about the balance thing, and like dragons are part of the restoration of the balance, and they have to be free, and then riderless, and blah blah blah. But I've never been able to like really think, what does that mean for the others? Because I am not of the opinion that the others are evil. Something has happened. There was like a treaty, a truce, something that was broken that man forgot about. You know, there's something else going on. And then Eric contextualized it because it's reproduction. And that's what the dragons and the others have in common, is that their reproduction is dependent on humans.
Yeah.
So it's got something to do with that. I'm absolutely fucking
And like,
convinced.
because there's, I love all the theories about how like the Night King, was originally like, the reason it took 13 years was because he had a daughter and then tried to have a child to give to the others, and that's why they needed to like get rid of him, because he was going to hand over like the mind control magic to the others. So it's like, it's all about management of like giving the others like babies that they can't then use as super weapons. So it's like, that was then the deal goes south. Years later, Blood Raven's at the wall, and then he ends up disappearing. Around that time is also when like Craster is born. So it's like, I don't know. It feels like we keep coming back to this, like trying to clandestinely give the others babies so that they don't invade.
I agree.
I don't think that there are dragon eggs in Winterfell.
No, I don't.
But I think that the cold pool in the Godswood, which is the only cold pool in Winterfell, all of the other ones are hot springs. I think that specific pool that all these characters keep on mentioning and talking about, and the only thing that Jon is compared to, Arya says that Jon's face is as stoic as that cold pool in the Godswood. And I'm like, oh, it's odd that that's what Jon is being compared to. I think that George's original book, The Ice Dragon, I think that that's where Adara's ice dragon melted. And so that is the dragon in Winterfell, is an ice dragon. And ice dragons are separate from Valyrian dragons in that they are like pools of water. And in the winter, which it's winter now, they become the ice dragon only when they are needed.
Oh gosh. Sorry. I agree. That's what I wanted to say. So someone mentioned in the comments the Lion of the Night and the Maiden Made of Light, and that's very much the context and lens through which I view Dany and Jon. Jon being the Lion of the Night and Dany being the Maiden Made of Light. And again, it's like that balance thing, because they are the only two gods of the great empire, and like in their union, when they're living in harmony, it's like prosperous, wonderful, beautiful, golden years of humanity or whatever. And it's when she turns her back, they wrong her, humanity wrongs the Lady of Light, and she turns her back on them. And then the Lion of Night is like, bet, bitch, and like unleashes all hell on earth, literally. Because there's no balance. And it's only when she turns back towards humanity. Daenerys, yes, is it on the nose for Jesus? I don't care. Literally don't care. We deserve a female messiah. Cry about it.
I know, like they don't talk about pandering. Like, wouldn't it be pandering if they made a Jon? Like,
pandering to literally everything that came before it too. Like it goes back to what I was saying. People do not contextualize that this should have all come out in the 90s, all consecutively in the 90s. And it would have been groundbreaking, earth-shattering to have the chosen one be a girl. That had never happened. Name me one popular fantasy or even sci-fi series before A Song of Ice and Fire in which the chosen one is a girl. Yeah, exactly. That's called subversion. That is actual subversion. because people want to jump to Danny being Paul, basically, but you skipped the part where we get the girl Messiah, right? Like, so we just went from standard male Messiah trope to bad male standard, you know, the Paul. Then we go to Danny. Like, we never got. Do you see what I'm saying? Someone nod or something. Like, does that make sense? What I'm saying? Like, you're all just sitting there like stone faced. Hello.
Sorry, I'm messing with glue stick.
God.
It's very interesting that George has already done the female heroine and a little girl, even though it was a singular book and it was a children's book that he wrote on its own. I mean, Adara is the heroine of her story, and it's kind of like crazy that she also looks like Daenerys looks a lot like her. I feel like,
well, and I mean, it contextualizes. Eric talks about a lot how,
and he did it in the 80s, no less. So that kind of tells you where his mindset is. He's already created a female heroine, and he's doing it actively again.
See, but Eric talks about a lot how, you know, a lot of people who've read A Song of Ice and Fire and are fans of A Song of Ice and Fire haven't read any of George's other stuff. Which, it's not like, I mean, I'm not saying that, like, it's absolutely necessary. You can't understand A Song of Ice and Fire if you haven't read some of the other stuff, but it does, like, inform you of, like, where his mind is at, like you said. Like, what he's interested in.
You will start to feel like you're going nuts. You will start to feel like you're going nuts as you read some of the stuff, because it's not... You know, it's sometimes as overt as like names, because like Rob and Lyanna are names that he's already used in one of his books. Yeah. But in that book as well is like the whole thing, which is essentially the Weirwood Net. It's like the story of like A Song for Leah is essentially, what if humans could go and talk to the children of the forest and they were just there and we had no idea why they wanted to go into the trees or why they loved each other. Like that's what that whole book is essentially about. It's an alien, and it's an alien goo collective mind.
He just was like, let's make this fantasy.
No, he literally was just like, let's take this here and put it in a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
And name it after the Grateful Dead.
Someone said, I would recommend reading A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the 3 novellas. 3 of the 4 of us have read them.
Oh my God, stop.
I will take
enough.
Okay, I want everyone to take,
that's enough.
Take every opportunity that you can to bother Chelsea about reading A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Take every opportunity you can.
At least until the show comes out.
We certainly do as a group. We pester her about it. So I am looking to make playlists. I am waiting to get to 10,000 followers. I'm like getting steadily closer. I need to get more
share. Go to her page right now and go share and like and comment the shit out of her stuff.
Yes, she needs to get to 10K to make these playlists, but they would be fucking banging every time.
Yeah, because I have so many videos that are a part of like a series.
Yeah, exactly.
And we were talking about this the other day. It's so cool how we bounce like theories off of each other. Like some of my branch theories have come from Chelsea's original theories.
That's
like
fun.
Branching off there. And it's just cool how that works. I've loved bouncing ideas off you guys.
Same. Shame. Let's see. Yeah, go share and repost and like all her content and help her. I think that's how it works. I'm talking like I understand how the algorithm works.
Well,
I don't.
Once Ashley can start hosting these lives, she's gonna get a boost of followers every time you host.
And I need to post more. I need to post more. I've gotten in the habit of not posting as much as I used to, and I was getting a steady amount of followers daily because I was posting regularly, and I haven't been doing that. So.
I've been in the mines. I don't have time to do anything else.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. Like sometimes this fandom does wear me down, and it gets discouraging to post content because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you can't explain the same thing over and over again, only to have the same people just not get it, and it becomes frustrating. But I will get back into it.
Same. I just have been in a slump forever.
You start doing what I do. Listen. If you do not like the first 3 words of a comment that someone is leaving you, you delete it and you block them. Because guess what? Once you block them, they can't bother you ever again. And so people are like, Chelsea, like, how is your space so, you know, snowboy free? It's because I have them all fucking blocked.
Yeah.
because I have them all blocked. You all will be tagging me in like shitty videos. I can't see them.
Nope.
I can't fucking see them. It tells me you've tagged me, and I can't see it. And I'm like, hell yeah, it means it was garbage, and I don't have to look at it.
We exercise that block button like it's going out of style.
It's my favorite resource. This is my space. Me.
Yeah, Farah, that theory is my baby. You're on Dario has been my brainchild since 2013, and I will keep spreading the word until we finally get wins and it's officially confirmed. I already know it's true. George knows it's true. I just need him to release wins so I can gloat about it. So I can be as obnoxious as possible, which be prepared for that. If we ever do get wins, I will be the most obnoxious person on the internet because I will never stop talking.
Same. If we ever get spring, Dream of Spring, and we get that epilogue chapter that is Viserion on the Mother of Mountains, I'm just gonna run down the street naked and be like, "Look at my tattoo! I called it! I told you, bitches!" My poor mom. I told you guys this in the group chat the other morning. Like, she had barely opened her bedroom door, and I was like, "Mom, look at my tattoo," and straight up just flashed her, and she was like, "Yes, beautiful. Good morning."
No, it's gonna be amazing if we ever get it. I'm not holding my breath anymore, George.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
No, nothing really. We're just not going to bat an eye to anything. Nothing happened at Worldcon. We're just going to just wait for not a blog.
That's where I was so set that he was going to announce it, and I told myself, I said, if he doesn't announce it this time, I'm gonna let it go.
Just let it go.
Oh, I love that question. You guys will like it too. Who's your favorite minor character? Mine is Strong Bellaws.
Wyman Manderley.
Kevin
that's a good one.
Lannister, but even though he's
That is a good one, though.
Listen, I love Wyman Manderley. I think he is an absolute hoot, and he is the king of revenge. Like, nobody does revenge like that. So, I have to say, you're an absolute legend.
we're going through Damon's vision right now.
2 slices of each pie, man. I'm just saying, 2 slices of each pie. That man was savage.
Yeah, that was brutal. Legendary.
Drink up, my lords. Wash it down with a rich arbor gold. Yeah.
And I love the way it's written, like how it unfolds for you, because you get that Davos POV, and you don't know that he's bluffing. You don't know at all, and so you're just like, shit.
Okay. But this is my point about George. Like, he doesn't give you things on a silver platter. Like, he does, but he doesn't. Like, you have to draw your own conclusions and figure it out for yourself. It is very clear that Wyman Manderley had those frays cut up and cooked into those pies. Like, it's pretty freaking obvious. That's the only conclusion you can come to. It's right there in front of you. He's not going to come out and be like, Daenerys Targaryen is Azor Ahai. She is the princess. Like, you are going to have to grasp the concept. Like, if you haven't gotten it by now, you're never going to get it. You just never are. You should really just stop reading.
Just stop reading.
Let's stop, because he's handed it to you. He's given you all of the context clues. He's given you all the foreshadowing. He's given you all of the things in which she does this in such an organic way that she has not even realized that she's done it yet. And if you still are coming to the conclusion that it's John based on what Melisandre says, Melisandre.
Okay. So one of the things I find craziest that people say about the prophecy in Dany is this idea that once she knows that she's fulfilled it, she's going to become this like zealot. Like, I think there's going to be conflict between Dany and the Red Temple, because Dany thinks about the dynamic between the Great Other and the Red God and thinks she would hate to be eternally at war like that. Like, and Dany is very skeptical of prophecy and curses and magic because of Miri and the Stallion Who Mounts the World prophecy and all these different things. And so I just think it's so funny when people act like she's just going to immediately lean into this idea of being like the Messiah. Like, that's nothing about her character has suggested that.
That is literally where people are getting that, is their show brain. Because when Daenerys finds out from the Red Priestess about the prince that was promised, and I think it's Missandei who says it can be translated to prince or princess, and she says, oh, I like that better. Like, that's the Daenerys that people think of. And stop associating TV Daenerys with book Daenerys. They are two entirely different people. It's not, they don't have anything remotely in common. That's not how book Dany reacts to things. TV Daenerys sits up high on her throne, whereas book Daenerys sits on the floor. Well, she sits on a bench that's on the floor.
Yep.
Like, this is a humble ruler and leader, whereas they made TV Daenerys completely and totally full of herself.
Oh, that's my favorite book. Hold on. That's my favorite book. I tracked this one high and low to get it because of the scene.
Yeah, because George had it corrected, right?
Yeah, George had
Originally, the artist had her.
They even
Originally, she was up there.
Yeah, and George was like, no.
Yeah, they even put her too high up on there because literally in George's book, she is on the floor. Like, she has this simple bench on the floor, and she makes the joke to Barristan about pillows, and he takes it literally and puts some pillows on the bench for her.
She says, you know what a monarch really needs is buns of steel. She's like a little kid, man. And Barristan is like, bet, and shows up the next day with like 20 pillows, and she's like, oh dear God.
But what's so funny, and this is why, like, I mean, I'm going to keep bullying Chelsea about rating United of the Seven Kingdoms, is that reminds you that she is a kid, because Egg makes jokes like that, and he's very sarcastic, and his sense of humor is very dry, like Daenerys is, and it's just, that reminds
Oh my God.
you that they're
People who
both-
say she's not funny blow my mind. Because there are a lot of people who say Dany's boring and not funny, and I immediately think of that bit in the book with Hisdar, where he comes and it's like the 6th time that he's come to ask her to open the fighting pits, and she's like, I know your arguments so well, should I tell them to you? And she does, and she like blah 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 blah. It's like this whole like half a page of her just being like throwing it all right back at him, and she's like, is there anything I missed, right? But then I also love, because he's clever too, because he's like, no, your grace has such a good way with words. You fully convinced me. And she's like, God damn it. Oh, God damn it. Don't you wordplay me. Don't you wordplay me, mister. Because he's like, he's like, educated, intelligent, and not unattractive. Like, there's a charm to him in the books.
I think it's just people, like, if you don't understand dry, sarcastic humor, just say that. Because it's very dry. She's constantly being sarcastic. And it's going over men's heads left and right. And she's funny. I'm sorry, but she's funny.
I think she's super funny. Yeah, Eric in the comments said Dany walked right into that one. She sure did. And she knew it, too. When he said it, she was like, in her head, she's like, oh, you. Damn. God damn it. And she's like, you're dismissed. Because she didn't really have anything to say back to that. Farrah, I'm curious. Can you elaborate a little bit? You said, what's Sir Barristan Selmy hiding? Because I feel like he knows more than he's letting on. In what context? Like in what ways? Because he definitely, I mean, there's a lot that he still wants to tell Daenerys about her family, obviously. Like, he tried to have that conversation with her, and she was like, I don't know if I'm ready to hear this. Which people are like, see, she doesn't want to know. She doesn't want to know. How is a child who was dealing with a whole bunch of shit in Marine at the time saying, you know what, I'm not in the best headspace to hear what I know you need to tell me? Like, what are you talking about? That's very emotionally mature. Like, yeah. I'd like to see you guys do that. You grown adults do that. Like, everything to do with Rhaegar. So, Rhaegar, Chardane.
People need to think about the context in which Daenerys is saying that, because she already knows that Viserys was a piece of crap. Like, that's already been well established. For her, what she's clinging to is her family's memory and legacy. And she's not ready to have that shattered for her just yet, because that's all she has left. And it's not that she's not ever going to hear it. She acknowledges that she needs to know, but she's just not prepared for that yet. And that is fine.
And he does, like, she does know, like, he tells her, like, the little bit that he does tell her is pointed. He's like, the Mad King earned his name. Like he tells her that. And she's like, but that was propaganda. That was Baratheon propaganda. And he's like, I don't think so. And she's like, fine. Because, like, who wants to hear? Like, that is a hard thing to hear. Your father was a cruel monster. He abused and essayed your mother. Like, you were probably the result. No, not probably. You are assuredly the result of sexual assault. Like, Daenerys was born of sexual assault. I can basically guarantee it, right? And that he couldn't get aroused unless, you know, he burned somebody alive, and that he was so paranoid about sharp objects that he wouldn't cut his hair or fingernails. Like, people don't talk about this shit. And that's why, like, when people compare even show Dany, what she did and how she was to her father, I'm like, tell me you don't know anything about Ares without telling me. Because not even at her worst in the show is Dany comparable to her father. Not even once.
No.
The man was clinically, certifiably insane.
I feel like what they did, what they did with Daenerys towards the end of the show is they combined a bunch of character storylines in with hers. Like a book Cersei's storyline is obviously to burn King's Landing to the ground. They combined young Griff and even John Connington because the bells being such a triggering thing.
Or Jorah getting grayscale. Come on, they literally were just mashing up Dany's story with young Griff.
Yep.
Yeah. So Dany is literally a combination of young Griff, John Connington, and Cersei.
Oh, you know what? That's something in the later seasons that really chapped my ass was how Jorah having grayscale meant literally nothing. It meant nothing except that he got some skin peeled off by Sam. It doesn't make any sense. Whereas Jon Con having grayscale is going to serve a purpose associated with his madness around the bells. It's all right there.
Giving Jorah grayscale was the ticket back to Daenerys. She saw that he was sick.
Oh, Farah, I see what you're saying. Yes, I think...
He was dying, and so she made her sympathetic, and so she's like, just go get healed and then come back to me.
Come back to me, yeah.
And, yeah. That was his ticket back in.
That's one thing that's so gross is because Jorah does have his moments in which he says, like, gives Daenerys good advice, but for the most part...
always for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. But, for the most part, he is constantly being a creep piece of garbage. Like, he's disgusting. He's literally grown
Do you know what I really hate?
adult fantasizing about a child.
Do you know what I really hate? Is how hard George served with the line, you were made to be kissed well and often, and the audacity of him to then have that line be given to a 14-year-old child from a grown man. The nerve. The fucking nerve. Because that's such a good line. But how dare you?
Like, listen, if someone said that to me, I'd be like,
bet. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
That when I read that boat series for the first time, that I literally wanted to toss my cookies.
For real.
Thoroughly.
Okay, so to go back to what Farrah was saying about Barristan and what he may or may not know, I love this train of thought about Rhaegar, the secrecy around Rhaegar, because I do think Barristan knows about the prophecy, but I think that he knows about it in the context of the prince who was promised, not Azor Ahai. Azor Ahai wouldn't mean anything to him. The prince who was promised does, because he tells Dany about the Woods Witch. So I am almost positive he knows more about it. Because nobody ever talks about that either. That Barristan is the source for us of the prince who was promised prophecy. That's where we get that information from. And he says that it is why Ares was married to Rhaella, is because they would come of their line. Their line, their union, their child, Daenerys.
The audacity, Rhaegar. But, honestly, as we've spoken about in past lives, it's clear that when Targaryen men are dreamers, it tends to drive them crazy. Or they're completely...
Or they have, main character syndrome,
They're missing... Yeah, and you see it with House Blackfyre as well. Daemon Blackfyre II. I won't give away any spoilers, but he takes his dreams, and he's like, oh, bet, I'm just going to run with it. And he runs right into a trap based on his own ego of thinking, oh, this must mean I have to be king. I'm going to be the one to bring back the dragons. It's me.
That's very Melisandre of you. It's very, very Melisandre of you.
He literally thinks that he is going to bring back the rebirth of dragons based on his dream. And it's
they all did. Something that I really love is when Jaime is talking about, he's telling Brienne about, when he killed the Mad King. And he talks about, it seemed like he didn't think he was going to die. He thought he would rise from the ashes as a dragon. And I'm just like, oh, it's another one. You know, I love how many instances there are of other characters talking about other things that are clearly about Dany, though. Like the whole story is always, you know, tacking back to Dany, even when the characters within it don't know.
Well, Chelsea, in his dream, in Damon's dream, he dreams of dragons cracking from stone eggs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's literally,
they've all been dreaming of Dany.
He's dreaming of Daenerys, and he thinks that it's about him.
Oh, you know something I was thinking? Okay, so there's that bit where Barristan says, okay, Rhaegar was very bookish, but one day he read something that changed him, and he's like, I must go learn how to battle or whatever. And I started thinking, like, because then Barristan goes on to say that Rhaegar was convinced that the bleeding star was a comet, and we know that that was right. And that's, like, again, added tragedy that there were elements of this that he had right, that Aemon had right, that, like, different people over time who have had these visions had right, but then had so many other things wrong. And it makes me think that something that Rhaegar found, like, relatively explicitly told him that. Like, he was making... I think it's like him realizing that the prince who was promised and Azor Ahai are the same thing, essentially. And I think he also may have eventually started to realize that, like, not that Lightbringer was a dragon necessarily, but that dragons were, like, the return of the dragons were necessary. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, Ruben.
Hello. Yeah, Tragedy of Summerhall, the whole bit. Oh, that's another one. Because so Rhaegar was convinced that the bleeding star was a comet, which we know to be right. And then Aemon thinks that it was Rhaegar because of the tears, like the salt from the tears that were shed at Summerhall and the smoke from Summerhall. And he had that right about the tears, because in Dany's recreation of the mythos, she bathed Drogo and her son in her tears. Like, that's, again, just like the ways that little bits of it have been right and people have gotten it right to get it wrong, basically. So that Dany could become Dany. That's the thing, is like, if none of these people had done the things that they had done, like, would Dany, you know, would she have ended up in Essos? Would she have ended up with the Dothraki, which again is like a full circle thing of, like, the Valyrians and the Dothraki both coming from the Great Empire of the Dawn. And so you have this, like, union between these two lines, you know, in Daenerys. God, you know how much I love Dany Dothraki is so underrated. Like, that whole arc, the whole union, like, people sleep on that shit. All right, y'all. I think I'm going to need to hop off soon. I need to...
Yes, we will be uploading this on YouTube. We were supposed to only go for an hour, and we've got an hour.
Also, y'all, I'm just saying, if you aren't playing Game of Thrones Conquest, it is extremely addicting. Look, I just want to show you. Look at my keep. That's a level 12 right there. Okay.
That's a level 12 right there.
So we will be doing these lives weekly. So the Wicked Witches of Westeros lives are back. We were just taking a little bit of a break there. We're supposed to only go an hour. We may not always stick to that. Obviously, we're not sticking to that today. But we will be back next week to talk all things A Song of Ice and Fire and pester Chelsea about reading Dunk Nay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we didn't even make it a whole finale episode. I mean, we're only at Rhaenyra and Alicent talking to each other. Guys, we're at 59 minutes. Okay, well, I mean, hey.
Mostly on track.
We're all going to take turns hosting. These two ladies will be getting their criteria done. Met.
You should be almost there, right, Chelsea? Like, you should be pretty close
on time, yes, but you have to, so it's like you need 120 minutes, and then separately, it's that you have to go live 7 times on 7 different days, and I've only gone live twice.
Okay.
So, I'm working on it.
Yeah, she's working on it.
I'm working on it. I'm also working on new login ideas, y'all.
Yes.
I am super excited about that. Obviously, I'm wearing the Ice Dragon today because I am obsessed with this one. Just completely obsessed.
I'm wearing Morning.
Love them. Okay, guys, I will talk to y'all later. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See y'all next Monday.